Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with the final season of Doctor Who Classic.
Ooh.
Last time around we had the greatest show in the galaxy. What was that?
Okay, so the Doctor and Ace land on this creepy planet where there is a carnival circus kind of thing going on, except that it's also the people competing against each other, and those who lose are eliminated, something like that. And there was this old lady who sat by the side of the road, and kind of like Madame Defarge in Tale of Two Cities. It was kind of discombobulated, disjointed, but that's pretty much all I remember of it.
Yeah, they figured out that the whole circus was a front for the gods of Ragnarok, who wanted to be entertained. Thus, the circus was stuck there entertaining them, and then the Doctor just blew him to Kingdom Come, and that was the end of the story. Yeah, it was a little long, a little boring, very boring. It was, for a circus, it was boring. Yeah. So, and I can't really complain about the characters, because it at least was a circus. It was a colorful cast of characters. They weren't the most interesting, but they're also from a circus. So I guess what are you going to do? I don't know. But
there was a killer robot.
Yeah, well, most of the clowns were robots. And then the guy that maintained them also made a big robot that was out in the desert that they used to kill the clowns.
Okay, sure.
Yes. Anywho.
The reason I've forgotten all of that, we opened a show last night. Third show of the season. Had a sold-out house. It was very nice, but, opening week is always very difficult.
Yeah. And I would remember more, except I honestly just don't care enough to remember that episode. So that'll be my terrible excuse. But today, we're on to a 4-parter. We're on to Battlefield. The first of 4 final stories for classic Doctor Who. It is the first episode of the season, so like always, you can watch the full unedited reaction for free down in the description. You probably know how it works at this point. If you don't, that's very surprising that you came to this episode, season 26, episode 1, without having watched the 25 prior times we've done this, but whatever. Anyway, you can go do that if you want. We got anything else?
I got nothing.
Then why don't we just jump right into Battlefield?
A pastoral scene.
Alistair? What about this one?
Oh, fine, if you like it, Doris.
Oh,
that's the Brigadier.
Enthusiasm. You look great by one of our azalea beds. What do you think?
Yes, I'll plant it when we get home.
Oh, thank you.
Exercise will do me good.
I don't know why
where's that
there's the
salesman
subtitles.
got to?
6-0, the Brigadier is coming now.
Salamander 6-0, please clarify your situation, over.
Over.
Salamander 6-0, you're breaking up, over. Salamander, do you
I wish she
copy?
still had the mustache.
It's an Imperial droid. Dressed like a knight.
A nuclear missile convoy.
How do you know?
It has a graveyard stench.
Oh, and here comes another one. And another.
Ah, yes, of course. I never thought I'd need these again. This should remove a few obstacles.
Who's Elizabeth Shaw?
Huh.
Eh.
I don't even look like her.
Oh, never mind. Just think like a physicist.
Black Knight with an energy weapon.
He looks like what Marty McFly pretended Darth Vader looked like in Back to the Future.
I don't know where you got these from, but I intend to find out. Show these 2 out.
I'd just like to say 3 things.
What?
Yeti, Autons, Daleks. Cybermen and Silurians.
That was more than 3.
That was 5 things.
Didn't even notice. Among...
Alistair, that was the Secretary General.
Doris, I don't care if it was the king. I'm still retired.
He said something about the Doctor being back.
Eh.
Alistair, who is the Doctor?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you.
Trouble.
Do you mind? It's a very valuable piece of coinage.
Even if those are shaped out of something other than metal, those are probably very hot.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 rounds rapid.
They've got armor.
Yeah, but a bullet would go through that armor.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, it's extraterrestrial.
So is that one like the Black Knight?
Brigadier. Found a uniform that fits.
I'm surprised it still fits.
I should have thrown it out while I had the chance. It's hit the brewery. We better get the doctor.
Good idea. Did you see it?
Yeah.
And?
It looked like a bloke.
Bloke. Flying through the air?
And then through a wall.
It's a good thing he had all that armor.
Merlin. Against all hope.
He's not that old.
Merlin would have been about 1600 by that time.
Doesn't look that old.
The Earth could be the center of a war that doesn't even belong to this dimension.
Freeze! Everyone stand nice and easy.
Listen, Winifred, we've got to be somewhere urgently, so please get out of the way.
You're under arrest, you and your freaky friend.
Who are you calling
I
freaky?
think I can sort this out. Look, if I can just explain.
Kill them! Kill them now!
Oh, hang on, let me see who Elizabeth is. It's Jean Marsh. Upstairs, downstairs. And may have been in the one where the doctor got very, very old and she was a like 3 or 4 episode companion, and then she shriveled up and died because... Remember that?
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you. It was a long time ago. I
That was
mean,
the first Doctor, so that would have been 4 or 5 years ago for us.
yeah, that was okay, and because I mean, it's the exact same thing of like the Brigadier, where it's like I finally like stopped and was like, oh yeah, I guess he did start this show in the '60s. Yeah, he would be getting older, wouldn't he? Even already in 1989.
All right, so, assume he was in his late 30s or early 40s, he'd now be in his 60s.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, this may be cheating a little by the episode, but if you put in Unit, specifically the Brigadier, it already just boosts it up, in my opinion. It's like any episode with the Master. You put them in, I'm gonna be happy enough. So, well, I mean, already without that, it'd still be an interesting story. Just having the Brigadier is the bonus. So, it feels a lot like Silver Nemesis already did. That was only 2 episodes ago that we had that. Whereas, like, this something is happening in modern times that was set up in the olden times and stuff. It's just, instead of Nazis, it's Unit, I guess. That's a bit of an upgrade, at least. So, I don't know. There's just something about this is just nice. It's interesting.
Yeah, and I didn't figure out until just now, the face in the glowing orb, that's Mordred. That's Arthur's accidental son.
Right. Specifically that version. That version of Mordred from the... I don't know. How could you describe it as Arthurian canon? It's technically like a story canon, like continuity. I guess technically, does Arthurian legend have continuity with itself?
It depends on which version you look at. But if I recall correctly, Arthur was enchanted by Morgan Le Fay, who was technically his half-sister. And from that union came Mordred. Arthur had pretty much forgotten about him. He moved on, pulls the sword from the stone, becomes the king, marries Guinevere. Guinevere begins to have the affair with Lancelot. Mordred arrives, accuses Lancelot and Guinevere of infidelity. Arthur and his knights are forced to break up the Round Table to fight against Lancelot, and Camelot disappears. And I can't remember if Arthur and Mordred die in the last battle. I think Arthur is mortally wounded, and he crawls off to Glastonbury, where he is supposedly interned beneath the abbey there.
This is all vaguely the plot of the show Merlin.
Yeah.
So, they definitely play a bit more fast and loose in that show. But it was a good, fun, young adult show as well. Now, well, I guess I don't remember if... No, it said in the credits that was Arthur specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for a second I was like, well, they didn't really say if he was Arthur, but no, I'm pretty sure he is Arthur. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. Why they're in space? I'm not entirely sure.
The Doctor said it's a connection between two opposing universes.
Oh, yeah.
And somehow Arthur should not be there.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess Mordred and the knights have come to kill him so that Mordred can claim the throne.
Now, how old is the legend of Arthur?
All right. The original legends start around the 400s. Arthur is supposedly there at the end of Roman rule. Nobody knows whether Arthur was real or not. There's actually a Roman story, if I recall correctly, about a young Briton warrior, and that's Briton, I think, who essentially coalesced all of the inhabitants of what is now England. But the Romans were on their way out anyway, if I recall correctly. Again, this is it's been more than 10 years since I've thought about any of this. But the legend of Arthur that we think of comes from the 11 or 1200s. Thomas Malory wrote a long narrative story. I don't remember if it was called an epic poem or not, like the Iliad and the Odyssey, called The Idylls of the King, which told that story. And then, of course, all of those legends get passed down. I want to say her name is Mary Stuart. Some woman in the 1960s wrote a trilogy about Arthur, which added a whole lot of depth. T.H. White wrote The Once and Future King, which is my favorite, because it's actually 4 separate novelettes put together. And then you've got all these movies. There was a movie called Excalibur in the 1980s. There's a movie called First Night in the last 20 years. So again, it's just whichever version you...
Yeah.
But they all have the same idea. Uther Pendragon, who was the king of the castle at Tintagel over in the West End, down on Land's End, has a child, and I can't remember if Arthur was considered to be illegitimate or if Merlin simply took the child away because that was his payment for making Uther the king. Arthur grows up with his cousin Kay under Sir Ector and only realizes that he is the king when he is able to pull Excalibur out of this stone. And then starts the Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah.
The idea being it's a round table because there is no one at the head of it. Arthur is the king, but he considers the knights as equals in the governance. As T.H. White puts it, it is not might makes right. It's not because we're right because we're strong. He says might must be used for right. We must use our strength to bring justice to the land.
Well, it's just such an interesting thing with how old the legend is because there's a show that I'm watching right now called Vinland Saga, and it takes place around the year 1000, and it's about Vikings and the war between Denmark and England. And one of the characters actually when he was young, like his mother told him the legends of, I think it was Artorias or whatever the name was, and he kind of speculates, because they talk about like, well, when will the king return? And there's a part of it where like he almost theorizes maybe he's Arthur reborn and will lead his people, but then because I can't remember, I must have been on one of my reactions to Merlin where maybe it was like the final episode where they talk about like one day Arthur will be reborn. I remember someone said like one of the princes, some people theorized that one of the current princes of England could be Arthur reborn, and it's like, well, that's an interesting idea.
That's why T.H. White's novel is called The Once and Future King, is because Merlin predicts that he will come again when England needs him to save them.
So it's an interesting thing because then, and this is, I guess, with a touch of cynicism of, you think, so when would that happen? Because if it's a thing of like, well, if it's, one of the current princes or something, or even here in this story, where it's like, well, what war is Arthur going to save Britain from? Now here they have the excuse of, well, it's some interdimensional war that Earth should never be a part of, but it is one of those things where it's like, what does England need saving from in 2024? Now, maybe if you had said this 70, 80 years ago when Britain had, some problems, some people coming in and blowing things to Kingdom Come, sure. But, like, I don't know. Did anyone say that about Winston Churchill, that he was Arthur Reborn? No. So...
and again, what the legend really incorporates, and why it resounded so much with the people, is it was kind of a mixture of the Druidic tradition, which I think Merlin was considered to be a part of, but also the new Christian tradition that was finally coming into Great Britain, because Jesus, as the Messiah of the Christians, was killed, was crucified, but was resurrected and says, I will come again. So it's that Jesus is the once and future king. Arthur is the once and future king. So the first, and again, this is vague knowledge from my teaching of world history, I think the first acknowledged High King of England, where most of the indigenous tribes there acknowledged that this is the man who brought us all together, was Alfred the Great. If I recall correctly, right around 900 AD. So this is just before the invasion of the Angles and the Saxons and the Jutes. Oh my.
Yeah. Well, it is sort of an interesting thing. I wonder if it's almost kind of nice having a legend like Arthur, where it's just like, yes, when Britain will need him most, he will reappear and everything. Like, maybe that's like, even if you don't really think that's going to happen, there must be some slight comfort in that, because that is not a thing we have in the United States. Because, like, I mean, I don't know why my mind went to this place, but I just thought, like, oh yeah, he'll come back. I don't know, what's a big event that could happen? It's like, well, if there's ever a solar eclipse in England, maybe that'll be when people will be like, oh, Arthur's coming back. Whereas here in America, the amount of conspiracy theories around that eclipse last month was ridiculous. And it's just, and it's also just ridiculous because it's like, oh, this is, this rare event that will never happen. It's like, it happens every 18 months. Every 18 months, there is a total solar eclipse. And there was a total solar eclipse 7 years ago, and nothing happened then. So, I don't know. Or like the whole, like, oh, the world will end in 2012. Yep, sure did, buddy. Good job on that one. It's not that the Mayans were just like, that's a long time in the future. We can stop. We'll make a new one when we get there. So,
Anywho.
You were bound. My mother sealed you into the ice caves for all eternity.
I'm the master of time. I cannot be bound so easily.
Master of lies.
Beware your tongue, Mordred. Have you so easily forgotten Baden? Where he cast down your mother with his mighty arts.
Yes, remember Baden and my mighty arts.
To improvise.
You talk to me!
Professor!
Oh, ignore them, they're just establishing their credentials.
They've got a funny way of doing it.
Don't worry about them.
What should we worry about?
Sorcery.
All right. We'll get this all sorted out. I mixed up some of the characters earlier.
Oh, yeah.
By this sword, brother to Excalibur, I part the curtain of night.
Oh, it's Nexcalibur. Is the Brigadier Arthur? That kind of makes sense. It's the cover of a rock album.
I cannot allow your interference.
Then, Merlin, let this be our last battlefield.
Which was the name of a Star Trek episode. I think it's Let This Be Your Last Battlefield.
That's a bit of a mystery. No one's been able to decipher the carving.
It says, dig hole here.
Extraordinary. What does it say that in?
My handwriting.
Meh.
Ace wound a hole.
Right. How long?
60 seconds should be long enough.
My young friend's something of an expert.
What, in archaeology?
No. Explosives!
Slow down!
60 seconds.
Ace,
I think the timer needs work.
one of these days we're going to have a nice long talk about acceptable safety standards.
It's damp.
Well, we're out of the league.
And this wall's made of concrete.
Yeah, the Romans invented it.
It's gone soft with age.
Another happy landing.
£5 million worth of aircraft and we've lost it.
'Tis a shrine to those fallen in battle.
They are not the savages you led us to believe.
There's one of those in a little town called Jean, where I lived in 1956.
Honored us, Mordred. Oh, warrior no less. How goes the day?
I've had better.
Oh, that probably frightened a lot of kids.
Yeah. Could have used the sword. Okay. So, alright, so it's Ancelin, the Mordred, Morgaine, Arthur, he's dead. Ace, potentially Arthur. Brigadier, also potentially Arthur. Jury's still out on that one. Yeah. You know, it feels like a third Doctor episode. And that's the best thing I can say about an episode of Doctor Who. It feels like a third Doctor episode. Maybe that's just because Unit's back and the Brigadier's back, but I don't know. It's nice. So.
Now, it's odd that when the Brigadier pulled up to commandeer the car, that the other Brigadier and Ancelin didn't come out when they heard him.
Well, they're over at the excavation site.
Oh, that's right.
So, yeah, but he definitely, I mean, it's a thing of, we have the Brigadier back, but I'd want him to be now, like, part of the plot, not just, you know, on the sidelines, pretty much, but...
You know of Excalibur?
King Arthur's sword Excalibur, wrought by the lonely maiden of the lake. who rose up out of the water, holding the sword Excalibur aloft.
This lake?
So,
Now
Ace is the lady of the lake.
in those old days from the summer moon. It's all a myth, really. Look! It's that wretched girl.
What are you doing in the lake? Drowning. He can be King of England.
I just can't let you out of my sight, can I, Doctor?
Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart. So you recognize me then?
Yes. Who else would it be?
Well, the Carberry LARPers got in on this one.
I can see. Patrick, I can see.
Well, that was nice.
You married or what?
I guess it's not exactly a car you run people over with.
We are very angry, and we want to leave. Is that right, Pat?
Don't get in our way.
I wouldn't dream of it.
Just no reasoning with these people.
At the risk of being
Why doesn't he do that more often?
Armor piercing, solid core with a Teflon coating. Go through a Dalek.
A non-stick bullet.
Unit's been very busy, Doctor. We've also got high explosive rounds for Yetis and very efficient arm-piercing rounds for robots. And we've even got gold-tipped bullets for you-know-what.
No silver.
Silver bullets?
Oh, you never know.
Quartermaster Sergeant! Silver bullets. Have we any?
Never know when a werewolf's gonna show up.
Except in Inferno.
Yeah.
But if they lead Morgane's troops,
It's a fully armed nuclear missile.
there's an accident. We better stop any engagement. Have you got a helicopter available?
Or better than that, Doctor.
Oh. Let's go.
Winifred,
What?
are they betrothed?
Not now, Anselind!
Ace, things may get dangerous. So I want you to have this.
Wonder if they named her Winifred after the princess in Once Upon a Mattress.
But it will protect
A piece of chalk.
a piece of chalk. With the first sign of anything strange, I want you to draw a chalk circle. And you and Shao Yung stay inside it along with Excalibur.
Right, Professor. Chalk circle. Sure.
Remember,
Are they
stay
sea
inside the
bears?
circle.
Well, how's that going to help?
Leave it. Look after Excalibur and stay in the circle.
2-7. Loki.
My mother hath summoned the Destroyer, the Lord of Darkness, Eater of Worlds. Look to your children, Merlin, for soon they shall be no more.
Ace, what have I done?
You gave her chalk. That was it.
To the Destroyer. And become his handmaidens in hell.
Hang on, because we saw Jean Marsh. I want to get down to Elizabeth finally, and I want to see who that actress is. Jean Black. I recognize that name, but can't place her.
The chalk, though. Come on, man.
Now, seriously, there's something, I can't remember again what mythology it is, but a circle of salt, for example, will protect you from demons of some kind.
Yeah.
Remember, wasn't that in Legends of Tomorrow when Constantine protected
Probably.
somebody?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm kind of surprised that there wasn't some kind of other thing, not a pentagram or anything, but something else besides just the circle of chalk that would keep the evil spirits away.
Well, yeah. I'm assuming they can't just try to quickly just stab Morgaine through the heart with Excalibur and probably solve all their problems, but I gotta say, at least on the Destroyer, that mask looks really good.
Yeah.
Like, I was prepared for that to look really stupid, and then it finally, like, formed, and I was like, yeah, it looks pretty good. Spent some money on that.
The fact that they were able to get the eyes of the actor in there to be able to move.
Yeah.
That's always good.
I think that's the major thing. So, it's also interesting because, the Ace gave Excalibur to Ancelin. He didn't keep it, which I thought was interesting. You think that he would, but I don't know. I'm curious if they're going to... I feel like they have to follow up on the whole Excalibur sending the signal to the Brigadier, right?
Yeah.
They got to follow up on that, so... otherwise, still good. I don't think I would say that this could be cut down to 3 episodes. I think I'm just spoiled on, just watching 3 episodes instead of 4. So, but this one, I'm like, this is good enough as 4. So
it's like you said, it's a good story. There, and I don't want to say there was any padding in here, but the action slowed down considerably before we got to that big battle scene there.
Yeah, so...
But it's still perfectly enjoyable. And I love even the semi-historicals like this. Those are always a lot of fun.
Yeah, so...
He must care for you very much to threaten my son so. Fear not. It is a deception. He is bluffing.
We know you of old, Merlin. You will not kill.
Please tell me the Brigadier just shoots him.
It is a weakness, this lack of spirit.
Try me.
Good. Thank goodness they trained for swords.
My mother.
You can't touch us while we're in the circle. Not while we've got the paper knife.
This is true. I cannot break such an enchantment.
It's not actually the chalk. It's just the sword.
This mortal has me chained.
With silver.
It burns.
Good.
Silver, of course.
Yeah.
You have allowed him access. Why?
So that you would be forced to release me.
Nice effects.
Morgaine. Brigadier.
Well, nothing ventured, Doctor.
Nothing gained.
Ah, he gets it.
You haven't won the game yet, Morgaine.
I could always defeat you at chess, Merlin.
Who said anything about playing chess?
I'm playing poker.
Good job.
And I have an ace up my sleeve.
Aha.
Very fun.
Those will stop the destroyer. What, you just shoot the bullets into it?
Simple, isn't it? Just like most killings.
Not. Is that a spaceship?
Oh, good job.
You scumbag!
Sorry, Doctor, but I think I'm rather more expendable than you are.
He's probably a better shot anyway.
Little man.
5 rounds.
What do you want of me?
Get off my world.
Can this world do no better than you as a champion?
Probably. I just do the best I can.
Oh, jeez.
You're supposed to die in bed. I can handle it. Your job.
Nonsense, Doctor.
You're supposed to be dead.
Oh, really, Doctor? You don't think I'd be so stupid as to stay inside you?
Well.
Really, Doctor, have a little faith. Ace?
Yes, Brigadier.
I'm getting too old for this sort of thing. He's all yours from now on.
Ace, have you no sense of occasion?
No.
Listen. She is alive.
Which is more than can be said for Arthur the freeze-dried.
Excuse me.
Punch him.
Millions will die. You will die.
I shall die with honor.
All over the world, fools are poised, ready to let death fly. Machines of death, Morgaine, screaming from above. Of light, brighter than the sun. Not a war between armies, nor a war between nations, but just death. Death gone mad. Is this honor? Is this war? Are these the weapons we would use? Tell me!
No.
Put a stop to it, Morgaine. End the madness.
Then tell Arthur to face me with honor in single combat.
Yeah, about that.
You going somewhere, dear?
Out.
Out?
Out. With the girls.
I thought you said this was a piece of antiquated junk.
Did I say that, Professor?
What about supper?
Oh, that's a good idea. Have something really delicious ready for us when we get home, okay?
Ah, are they not magnificent?
Yeah. You only good with the lawnmower, Anselin?
I'll cook supper.
Okay, so the last thread there. Morgaine, what's his name?
Anselin,
and Mordred are now stuck in this particular world.
Yes.
Okay.
The Doctor is content to leave them there.
Well, it's sappy ending, but of course that's perfect to a story like this.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting when we started this, and it's the return of the Brigadier, also Arthurian legend from another dimension. I didn't think that would end on an anti-nuclear bomb speech.
But very well said, because there is no honor in that.
And I mean, middle of 1989, so...
And, that was the decision that President Truman faced in 1945. The military told him that an assault on the Japanese mainland would cost at least 1 million Allied lives and probably as many Japanese lives. So his choice was, do I destroy the city of Hiroshima and get the Japanese to surrender, or do I allow the invasion to go ahead at the loss of millions of lives versus the loss of a few 100,000? It's never a choice that I would want to make. And then when the Japanese didn't surrender, they did it again, although, if I recall correctly, Nagasaki was not the original intended target, but they had to be diverted because the original target was clouded over. So, that's the worst choice that a person in position of authority, like the Brigadier, would ever have to be. And the Doctor said, this is not an honorable way. If you want to be a commander, you have to face death yourself, Morgaine, and this is not your way. And she said, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, so...
nice speech. So, congrats to, what was his name? Ben
Aronovich.
Ben Aronovich, yeah. Nice speech.
Yeah. With that ending and the very, I guess you could say, political speech, it really does cement itself as a Third Doctor episode, because that's what every Third Doctor episode basically was.
By the way, I was going to mention this. When Ace set the timer on the Nitro 9 to blow the hole that they went into, did you notice that the top had a peace symbol on it?
Ironic. But interesting.
Oh, and by the way, again, I learned this while I was teaching world history. The peace symbol is actually another well-known Viking symbol turned upside down. The god of war, if I recall correctly, was Tyr, and his battle symbol was that inverted Y with a line through it going up. So in the 1960s, when the peace movement decided they wanted to be anti-war, they simply took his symbol and reversed it for the peace symbol.
Interesting. Well, I don't know like how much in-depth discussion there's going to be on this one, but I feel like I say that every episode now. but at the same time, it was a very good episode.
Yeah.
So, very good. The locations were all good. Again, it's kind of cheating, but it is bonus points of having the Brigadier back. So, and having him being the one to destroy the Destroyer was very interesting. I like that. I like how it got so dramatic, and it's like, no, he got out of there in time. It's just, yeah, I mean, it hit him, but it didn't kill him. So,
it might have been interesting to have the Brigadier do that speech to her. I mean, he's the military man all along, and when he finally says, look, I understand what you're saying here. There has to be, if there's going to be a war, it has to be done with honor. Yeah, whatever honor you can get out of war. But for him to say this is not the honorable way to do it, that would have been, I mean, I don't want to say sledgehammering it, but that would have been a very interesting way of introducing that. But the Doctor doing it was just as good.
Yeah. Again, this is kind of one of those sequel episodes to an episode that doesn't exist, but at least with this, it's like, it's like, oh, the Doctor has a history with them. But I like that this time, it's like, no, that's clearly in his future. So, at some point... Now, granted, because Anselin said he does not recognize his face, so it's a future incarnation of the Doctor that goes to this world and becomes Merlin, basically. So, I don't know. I'm curious if they've ever done anything. They haven't done anything about that in modern Doctor Who, but I don't know. It'd be interesting if that's like, like a story for the 8th Doctor or something, So, well, yeah, but I mean, the location was great. Again, it felt very Third Doctor-y. It's like we're going to this, this peaceful place in the countryside where we'll have these weird alien things or whatever that are happening. And, I mean, just down to, obviously, having Bessie there as well. Just driving around in Bessie. It's like, yeah, this feels like a leftover script from the Third Doctor's era. But again, I like that. I've said that is my favorite era of classic Doctor Who, and I still am going to hold to that it's, it's the combination of the Third Doctor, Joe, the Master, and Unit. Like, all of that I thought was really, really good. So having sort of a mix of that was good. Yeah, as for the other stuff, I thought the new Brigadier was interesting. They didn't do a lot with her, other than just kind of, sticking her with Anselin half the time.
Makes you wonder if they were introducing her because if the next season had gone ahead, season 27, I guess it would have been, that she would have been bringing Unit back and working with the new Doctor.
Maybe. I could see something like that, having more Unit stories. Because, I mean, it's pretty much since the Third Doctor's era, like, we haven't had a ton of Unit stories. I mean, even in the Sixth Doctor's era, we didn't have anything at all. And the Sixth Doctor never met the Brigadier. So, yeah, that would have been interesting if they bring back, if they were planning on bringing back, what was her name?
Bambera.
Yeah, Brigadier Bambera. So that could have been interesting.
And I was also, because I only heard of this from you, I was kind of thinking that they were going to introduce the fact that Doris was pregnant, because they never mentioned Kate. Isn't Kate Lethbridge Stewart?
Yeah, in modern Doctor Who, they introduce Kate, and they've used Kate quite a lot actually in modern Doctor Who. And yeah, that's sort of the reintroduction of Unit. Kinda. There's multiple reintroductions of Unit throughout modern Doctor Who, so yeah, that would have been interesting, but either way, it works out. But yeah, it would have required planting the seeds to a different show later. I mean, it's yeah. In hindsight, that would have been great.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that George Lucas would have thrown in with CG, just thrown in a little CG baby somewhere. And be like, now it all connects perfectly.
Yeah.
So, even for having, it's like, their Arthurian legend from a different dimension where, it's more real and stuff, they kind of also gloss over the whole, like, they also have a spaceship and they have, laser guns and stuff like that. That just seems to be, like, incidental to...
Yeah. And Bambera asks Anselin, you don't have cars in your universe? And he says, no. But, they've got laser weapons.
Yeah, and spaceships. And, and also because they don't differentiate, like, Morgaine's sorcery as, like, anything technological. She says, they rely on technology so much, and it's like, you have a spaceship at the bottom of the lake. So, I don't know. But I mean, it's fine. You don't need to explain too much of that. It's just an interesting point.
Yes, says the two guys who are always looking for explanations.
Yeah, it just depends, because at least with that, it's like, okay, so they just have that. I don't know. I don't need an explanation, really, for that.
Yeah.
Now, if there's a goo, and it turns a guy into a werewolf, I'm a little curious.
He did not mean to bring that up.
Maybe.
But here's the thing. Just to put an underground castle, it didn't have to be a spaceship.
Yeah.
They didn't have to use laser weapons. They could have used crossbows and things like that. I mean, it's just... I understand that they're trying to introduce the science fiction element into it, but you got the science fiction sorcery in it and everything. So I mean, it's
unless the Doctor created that spaceship, it could be that the Doctor that becomes Merlin created that spaceship specific, or even it may not even. I guess we don't even know if it's capable of flight, but just something that can go there and be at the bottom of the lake once the story, once time gets around to this story. Yeah. So, I don't know, I guess you can kind of explain away stuff like that of like, well, it could be from the Doctor who becomes Merlin specifically. So, and then the Destroyer, just good makeup. I'm glad it wasn't just some big lumbering thing, even though it kind of was, but it just looked really good. So, just like the makeup was good, the design was good, the voice was really good. And yeah, the fact that you can see, like, the actor's eyes, like, okay, this was actually a really good, and it's very, like, stylized and everything. It's not just a mess like a lot of Doctor Who costumes can be.
That is, I was thinking, what was that episode? Was it the Draconians?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably the best monster makeup since then.
Yeah. So... that was also a Third Doctor episode, so it all comes back to the Third Doctor. The best era of classic Doctor Who, you heard it here first. So, and then yeah, just the message at the end of the nuke was also really good. Again, it's very, I mean, you can't even say it's on the nose. At this point, it is the nose, like it's very blunt, but it works. Yeah. So, and then, like, it's interesting, like, adding the character of, like, was it Xiao Yang? Yeah. Where it was, like, she really didn't, like, provide anything. They didn't really say who she was. She was just a girl who kind of lived there. But, I don't know. I mean, she worked out. she worked out, and it's like I could see if maybe they wanted to, have her as a companion, or if Ace was going to leave, maybe there was some question about that. But I mean, we know that didn't happen. But it's interesting just having this character who, again, like really does not affect the plot. She's just there to be around Ace.
Yeah.
But she was good, so. I don't know. I'm stretching.
Yeah.
I'm stretching to stretch the time a little bit, but
well, we spoke quite a bit between the first episode and the second episode.
Yeah, talking about the Arthurian legend and stuff like that. So that's pretty much all I got on this one. Next up is Ghostlight, which I believe is it's only 3 parts. So,
and we have been warned that it is considered to be a great episode that we probably won't like because it's surreal. It's it's not that we don't like surrealism. It's just I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, it's just it's a difference between a specific brand of science fiction and another brand. It's just we'll take our shot with it. We'll see what we think.
Yeah. As much as I want to make a joke of, stay tuned for next week when we take one of the most beloved stories and, we just, trash it all to hell and everything. I want to make that joke. But I do want to make it clear. We're going to come into this unbiased. Even though technically, like, it's the slight problem of, the people warning us that we probably won't like it. Well, now you've put that bias in my head, like now I'm going to look at this and, judge it probably even more harshly. It's like, okay, well, they say I'm not going to like it. Let's see, but it's like, no, we do come into these stories that we don't like expecting to like them, and then we're let down. And that doesn't mean that you're going to be let down. It doesn't mean anything. It's just that we, immediately after watching this, don't like the episode. And that's fine. The sun will still rise and set like normal, and it doesn't have to be the end of the world. So, but yeah. But on that note, we will absolutely tear it to shreds next time. And with all of that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of our classic Doctor Who reactions, as well as another playlist for all of my modern Doctor Who reactions if you want to go check that out. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.